Whether you're just starting out or well on your way as a professional writer, director, actor, or editor, I'd love to hear about the challenges that you're facing. I'm here to help. Learn from the mistakes that I've made. Let's locate your unique voice and bring it to the screen. These are my adventures in cinema, and I hope you enjoy them. The tradition of cinema and filmmaking that we have here is in India as Indians comes from the Nautanki theatre and from the tradition of the Sutradhar, which in Greek theatre used to be the chorus, who would tell the audience, literally tell the audience, what the protagonist is undergoing, in order to move the audience to various forms of various heights of rapture. And I kind of thought about this a lot. So that what is different? Because I found it very intriguing that, particularly our Indian television shows, you have actors who come in and pretty much state the obvious. Like you'll have a guy coming into a room and saying, "मैं अंदर आ गया." Yeah, I can see that. So why would you say it? But I think if one analyzes it, the privilege is given in our cinema to dialogue and to narration somehow, to explain. The need to explain what is coming on screen is very much like in the Greek theatre. You explained what was going on stage, even though people can see that. Whereas in the Eisensteinian montage theory, for example, which is what I'm a student of, which is basically you take two uninflected shots, two shots which have no particular meaning in themselves, such as a man's face and a box of cigarettes, and you place those two shots together, and suddenly a whole plethora of meanings are produced in the minds of an audience. And these are done absolutely silently, voicelessly. You don't need any dialogue to explain what's going on. It could be that the man is a smoker, he wants to have a cigarette, the man is addicted to smoking. I mean, all sorts of, meanings can be brought out of that one particular cut. And for me, storytelling, visual storytelling, needs to be about pulling the audience in to your cinema and making them make these connections between these two shots, inviting them to use their imagination, their intelligence to join those dots. Our cinema, our television serials in particular, don't leave anything to that part of the intelligence. Because there is this overwhelming desire to pass on information. And let's just watch the next series and see if I'm right. I mean, I may be wrong, so you can maybe in the comments below or whatever, give me an idea whether you think I'm right or wrong. But see how much information is being conveyed by dialogue. And then ask yourselves, do we really need to know all those things in order to feel something? Because at the end of the day, what are we trying to do? We are trying to make an audience emotionally feel for these characters and for the story and for their predicament and the choices that they have to make. And then asks, do we really need to have all of that information? Why are we being told all these things about social, cultural, caste, class, conflict, realities, and everything is being spoken and thrown on the screen like it's a bulletin board almost? So if I need information, I'll go to Google, right? I don't want information. What I want is to be enthralled. I want a catharsis. I want an overwhelming emotional feeling coming out. That's what I want. And when I get a lot of information, I come away from it thinking, wow, now I know a lot about how the mafia crime network works in rural India. But did I just watch cinema? did I just watch um, a series which drew me into these characters and their predicament? Or were they simply being given reams of dialogue to explain the situations that they were in? So that the interesting part of that was not so much the cinematography of it, the cinema aspect of it, but the the journalistic aspect, if you want to call it that, which is the when, where, how, etc., the sort of four words that journalists use to report. So a lot of, I think, what passes as social realist drama today in our cinema is in fact journalistic in nature and not so much cinematic in nature. And I think there's a huge difference between those two things. Satyajit Ray, for example, is cinema. Why? Because when Apu's character discovers that he's gone to his best friend's wedding and that man has died, and he ends up becoming the groom and returning with Sharmila Tagore, a completely bewildered young man who just accompanied his friend to a wedding. And I found that to be one of the funniest, by the way, scenarios, setups that I've ever come across in cinema, where this young man just goes to accompany his friend as his best man for his wedding and ends up with the bride and returns home, not ever intending to get married in the first place. And then the beautiful, the most gentle unraveling of this romance that then we are treated to for the rest of the film between Sharmila Tagore and this man. And then our hearts are seriously shattered and broken when Sharmila's Tagore's character dies, leaving him with a child. I mean, the bewilderment of Soumitra Chatterjee as he's walking around that room trying to make sense of what just happened, just before he's about to get married. He's not passing information at that moment. He's sharing his personal dilemma. That would be the dilemma of any young man at that moment, saying that, look, I'm not ready to get married. What the hell is this? So for me, that is different. That is cinema somehow, And what we perhaps end up doing with these tightly packed, highly dense, almost journalistic pieces of information that come across as television series on a week-to-week basis is we forget about the fact that cinema has anything to do with visuals, and we lather it with narration spoken in dialogue by actors from the beginning to the end. Another way of thinking about it is that just turn off the visuals and listen to it, and it'll become a podcast, and you'll probably understand exactly what's going on, or a radio play. And if that's happening, then you know something is wrong, because it should be the opposite. You should be able to turn off the sound of a film and watch all the visuals and understand what's going on. That's the mark of a great film. That's the mark of a good storytelling, visual storytelling.